The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. My name is Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined with one of the top sharks in the NBA DFS world, Mr. Mike Apotria. How are you tonight, Mike?
I'm doing swell over here, Coach. I mean, we got our contest a day early. It looks like I think I already won some free pizza. So, I mean, my night can't get better right now.
Free pizza?
Yeah, so, Josh Millman over here, he's a hoop ball guy and decided to challenge me for a little side bet. So I think he lives in New Jersey, I believe, and I guess he works, I don't know what he does for work, but they have some offices in Stamford, which is about 30 minutes from me. So we bet some Frank Pepe's Pizza. That's
that
world
sounds
famous. Have you heard of that, Coach? Have you ever heard of Pepe's Pizza?
I've heard of it. I've never had it though.
Yeah, so I live maybe about 5 or 10 minutes away from the best pizza in the world. It's a street in downtown New Haven. It's called Worcester Street. And it's got some of the most famous. I think it's got about 3 of the top 10 places in the country voted for best pizza on it. It's Sally's, Pepe's, Modern. There's another one, Delegna's, Zupardi's. It's all these Italian pizza places, but it's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know how people talk about New York and Chicago pizza, and I'm sitting over here in New Haven just laughing.
I would be in heaven. That is right up my alley, man. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, yes, we are. So we're obviously always record this the night before, and it's Tuesday, November 5th, and we are going to be going over the slate for Wednesday, November 6th. It's a 9-game slate, and we're Fantasy Draft had given me a call to see if we wanted to throw a coach's challenge in there tonight, and we did. We've got almost sold out, only 9 people in there. I'm right in the middle of the pack, and I've still got Bam Adebayo and Gary Harris going, so I think I've got a legit shot. How about you?
I'm doing okay over here. I don't think I'm got a shot at winning it right now. I'm just looking at some of the other guys. There's obviously a lot of overlap with a couple of these lineups. A lot of chalk players tonight that I actually built this lineup anticipating it was a single entry. So I didn't know that we had the multiple entry. Probably would have thrown a couple more in there, but overall pretty happy with it. The only guy who's really let me down is Anthony Davis. I was
me too.
I stuck true to my guns on a few of these plays. A lot of the guys I wrote up in my article, a few guys I wrote up I didn't get in there, but are still having pretty good nights. I think overall I should have a fairly good night. I'm not expecting to pay off the student loans with tonight, but I think at the end of the day I think I'll be in the net green. So that's all I care about, as long as we're green and not red.
Exactly. What is Andrew's name on here? Do you know?
That's a good question. Do you think we would know, considering we work together? We collaborate and we kind of set this thing up, but we're pretty dysfunctional. We're making do with what we got. No, I do not know Andrew. To be honest, Coach, I forgot yours in here too. I was looking for your lineup before. We're a mess over here.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, I'm Dawson the baller on there. By the way,
I'm the guy in first. Whoever that is, that's me.
Yeah, I don't think so. I do not believe that's the case. Although I know how bad you want some of that fantasy draft swag. So
I do. Listen, I'm all about. That's why you heard me. I got excited about winning free pizza. Just a free item. I feel like who doesn't like free money, obviously. But when you just win something that's like a tangible item, that's fun.
I know. I won a DraftKings entire hoodie and the sweatpants and everything in one contest, and it's like I don't even remember how much money I won for that contest. All I know is every time I wear that, I think, man, I won this sucker. It gives you a little extra excitement for sure. But we'll see how it finishes up tonight. I'm hoping by the time we get done with the show, I can check in and see how it's going. But awesome, man, awesome. We certainly, as mentioning fantasy draft with the Coaches Challenge there, we want to thank our presenting sponsor, who is Fantasy Draft. They're the only rake-free fantasy site in the industry. Fantastic daily contest in the NBA, $30,000 pick and roll. That's a $25 entry and a $5 entry, $7,500 guaranteed. And again, no rake. Everything you play with your membership at Fantasy Draft, you are getting 100% payout, and it really adds up. So, definitely go to fantasydraft.com, sign up with the promo code HoopBall, and get your 7-day free membership up to $1,000 in contests. And also a couple of our other important sponsors and presenting would help present this show 7 days a week. Free content is manscaped.com. I know Mike Apache's personal favorite. Go there, and also promo code HoopBall. You get 20% off your order and free shipping. MyBookie.ag, very important for all of those gambler wager on the game folks out there. MyBookie.ag is outstanding. Great customer service, quick payouts, great to play at. Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company, also our founding initial sponsor with Hoopball. So we thank them, and we want to dive right into this slate because it is a big, giant 9-game busy slate for a Wednesday. As we know, this is usually our busiest night. I'm not sure if we're going to have another Coaches Challenge tomorrow, so keep an eye out. We may have back-to-backers. Keep an eye out on Twitter. I'll be announcing it and shooting it out there if we do. But definitely looks like a great slate for it if we do throw one up there. All right, let's get started with one of the first games on the slate. It's 7 p.m. Eastern. It's the New York Knicks at the Detroit Pistons.
Obviously, there's going to be some guys to target in this game. We know that there's some high volume usage guys and some other guys on the Knicks playing high minutes. So I think it's pretty stock standard for me. I think Drummond's in play still, even regardless of his price tag is up there. Am I going to go to him as much as I have pretty much every other slate? I probably won't, to be honest. I think just knowing that we're getting a couple of these guys back from suspension and everything else, there's going to be ownership to spread around. I think both, looking at some of the options between like just Cat and Embiid, we got to imagine these guys want to come back and play with a little vengeance, and they're both just slightly cheaper. So I think that's kind of where I'd rather invest. So he's playable, he's on my board, but I'm looking at Bruce Brown again. I think he's an obvious play. The price tag did go up a little bit. It's to the point where you have to really think about it. He's not as chalky now. He's still probably going to be played as chalk, but you really have to think about it. Just knowing that the price tag is up there now. It did go up to a fair amount, and he's probably going to be at least 25 to 35% owned. Just knowing that there hasn't been a ton of value that really popped up on this slate other than the obvious candidates. But I'll look to play him against the Knicks. And then on the other side of the ball, I think R.J. Barrett is he's going to continue playing big minutes. Fizdale basically said, stop asking me about it. He's 19 years old. He's playing a bunch of minutes. Get over it.
Yeah. Right.
So I think we can look at that. And I think Mitchell Robinson is going to have to get used in this game. He just makes the most sense as a guy to get matched up against Andre Drummond. He's already announced the starter. We've kind of seen his salary decrease a little bit across the industry. Now, I do think he's going to have his minutes limited still. I'm not expecting him just to start and play 30 minutes or anything like that. I think we're probably looking at 18 to 24 minutes. But it's at a price tag where I think in some cash games and even GPP because of his block upside, he can easily put up like a nice 28 to 30 points.
Yeah, no doubt. Mitchell Robinson has been just such an enigma this year. I know there were such high hopes for him, and he's constantly still in foul trouble. He's been split minutes with Portis at the center. I would assume with Drummond bulling his way in there, Mitchell's probably going to get in foul trouble again. And with all the good centers on the board, I'm not going to touch him. I've lost a lot of faith in his game. Really, the Knicks are hard to play. I mean, they still have Dennis Smith and Elf out. So Ntilikina is the point guard, but I will not play him again. I made that mistake last week, and he just was terrible. So, I know he's probably going to get decent minutes, but I'm just not interested at all. RJ Barrett, yes, he's in the top 5 in the league in minutes. I just he hasn't been as efficient as I would like as far as from a fantasy points perspective. Marcus Morris has been solid, man. He's logging a ton of minutes too, and he's been effective. But they seem to be rotating in some more guys like Knox and Taj Gibson, and Randall's going to get his touches. So I'm going to go 0 on the Knicks side of the ball. I just I don't have confidence in their level of play, and it's just no reason for me to go there. Now, on the Detroit side, I've stated it over and over and over again that until Griffin's back, and he's not going to be back tomorrow, he's going to be reevaluated, I guess, on Wednesday and may return this weekend. But I have stated if Griffin's out, I'm just going to lock and load Drummond, and I just don't see why I shouldn't. I mean, 3 out of 7 2020 games, he's been phenomenal. I know his price tag's way up there. He's now floating with the cats of the world up high on the dollar salary, but I think he's worth it. I think he dominates again. I think that he gets Mitchell in foul trouble. And I'm gonna dial him up. I'm probably gonna fade Bruce Brown just because of the ownership and that his price has come up a little bit. And Kennard is stepping up, and a couple other guys have played a little bit better role. So I know he's going to be super owned. He has had 2 fantastic games in a row. As much as I don't like Ntilikina, he does defend pretty well. He can lock guys down, and he'll probably check them at the start. So all that to be said, I'm probably only going to walk away with Drummond in this game.
Yeah, I don't blame you for it. I just I'm looking at the assist numbers for Brown. He's playing like a traditional point guard role. He doesn't look like a shooting guard that's just subbing in at point guard because everybody else on the team is hurt. I like what he's doing, and I think that they're taking a good look at this guy for the future as well right now, and I think they like what they see too. Tinfoil hat. One thing to bring up is that the 2 Morris brothers are playing each other. So if you see Markieff have a big game, it might just be Marcus Morris wearing his jersey. There's always been rumors that they would, swap jerseys before the games and stuff like that here and there. So, if you want to maybe get Marcus Morris to 7,200 and, really have some stones and put your tinfoil hat on and hope that happens, it's an option.
No, thanks, man. You can have. I'm not going with you.
Hope that you're getting the Knicks guy for the Pistons price.
Right. Well, they may. Who knows? With those 2 hotheads, they may get into a fight with each other. That would be something. Or bounce the ball off somebody's head. I'm not even sure. They both are always out of control, so it's hard to say which one gets in more trouble. But I'm not going to worry about those 2 guys. Although Marcus is tempting with those minutes played. But all right, let's move on to game 2. The Washington Wizards, Indiana Pacers. I have no idea what the poor Pacers are going to do. They have to travel tonight, and they have a back-to-back. They just played an overtime game where their main guys played huge minutes. This is going to be a dangerous game for the Pacers, but the good side of things, they're playing the lousy Wizards. So what's your take there?
I think if there's one team you want to play on the second half of a back-to-back after going to overtime, one of those teams is going to be the Wizards. So that's definitely going to help. But for me, that's a lot of minutes played for some of these guys. There's a lot to worry about. They're already kind of dealing with injuries. Goga played 31 minutes tonight, which, pretty much a chalky play. If we know he's going to get 30 minutes again, you got to pretty much lock him in. He's still priced you did see a little price bump, and I think if you're looking on fantasy draft, maybe the stars and scrubs that we've kind of been rolling with for most of the season might have to take a side for a little bit, just because we're starting to see this value that was minimum salary, like your Bruce Browns and your Gogas. These guys are having good games; they're getting priced up, but they're still in good spots, so they still are warranted being worth played. But now we kind of, excuse me, now we have to dumpster dive a little bit. I think I'm actually gonna be looking at a little bit more TJ Leaf in this game. Just knowing that it was the back-to-back, he only played 14 minutes tonight. The previous game to tonight, he had a big one off the bench. 22 minutes, he put up 15 rebounds. So I think that he could be used a little bit more. Just knowing that the rookie played 31 minutes, he's a big guy. Maybe you don't want to do that. And the Pacers kind of play a little bit bigger with Rui and Bryant, so I think that will get TJ Leaf a couple extra minutes regardless. But otherwise, Brogdon, I'm not going to tell you not to play him. He's been playing out of the world. Another fantastic game tonight. He's not priced too high on fantasy drafts compared to some of the other spots across the industry. I believe he was like 8,200 tonight on DraftKings, and I didn't want to pay that salary. He did pay it off. But that's just like too hard for me to pay for. I mean, if he keeps playing like this, it's gonna be hard to ignore it again. But I'm gonna kind of just keep letting it go up a little bit, and eventually I think it's gonna hurt some people for a few games in a row until it comes back down. So that's kind of my theory on that, and I'm not really touching anybody on the wings over there. You can go back to Warren, but it's tough. I really just don't want to. I don't like this spot on the back-to-back at all for the Pacers. I think I'm just going to be looking at Goga and Leaf the more I talk about it. And on the other side of the ball, I think Bradley Beal's obviously always in play, but this is a tough matchup defensively, so he's not going to be some guy I'm trying to jam in or force in. I think I have other options I can spend up to on this slate. And I'm really, Isaiah Thomas is starting, still playing about the similar role. So until I see his minutes get back up to 30, his price tag has gone up due to being in the starting lineup now. So I need to see his minutes go up before I want to pay that, and not really touching too much of the front court.
Interesting. This is going to be an interesting. I watched pretty much the whole game tonight because I rostered three of the Pacers with Goga, Warren, and Brogdon, and man, they looked good. They were up 19 at one point and blew the entire lead. Ended up losing in overtime, but those guys look solid. I mean, Goga's a nice little player. I know he fouled out again, but he got a long run. He only scored 6, which is odd because he has a nice looking shot. He missed 2 just wide open threes where it just rattled around. But yeah, he's at that price. If he doesn't jump up salary wise tomorrow, I mean, and he's going to get a 30-minute run again, which he very well may. It's hard not to roster him because he gets a lot of blocks. He's got 4 and 5 blocks in the last 2 games respectively, and you got to consider him. Malcolm Brogdon is just a pro's pro, man. I think he is a terrific ball player, and I'm not too afraid to roster him tomorrow, and I'll tell you why. I think that it really looked like Jeremy Lamb pushed hard tonight. He played a lot of minutes. He tweaked his knee. He tweaked something else. He was playing hard because he was playing against his old Charlotte team. And I just got a feeling he's either going to sit or play minimum minutes tomorrow. And I've seen no report on that. That's just a gut feeling. And then I watched the pre-show, and they said Sabonis is not going to come back probably for a couple of games, but Turner was close. So, we got to watch that news. If there's a possibility that Turner plays tomorrow, then you just take Goga out for sure. But keep an eye on that because it's possible that he may play. But Brogdon's really my number one option on this team. I think that I think he gets a lot of minutes, even though it's on a back-to-back, and I think his usage will also be very high. It's he's top 10 in usage right now, especially with Turner and Sabonis. He's then moves up to a top 4 in the league usage guy. So, I'm not afraid to utilize him. On the Washington side, since Isaiah Thomas is now becoming sort of one of the go-to guys and a starter on the team, to me it's taken the luster off of Bradley Beal, and his usage, as I mentioned on the last show, is dipped already from 1st in the league to 5th. and probably going to sink a little bit again. And that's part in has to do with Isaiah just being ball dominant and shooting the ball a lot. So definitely not looking to go to either one of those guys, especially at Beal's very high cost. The only guy I'm looking at in this game that to play is Thomas Bryant. I think that Goga does get into foul trouble if Turner doesn't play, so you got to be a little bit afraid there. And Bryant is the kind of guy that draws a lot of fouls, either push and shove kind of guy, and certainly somebody that causes trouble in the paint. Don't play TJ Leaf, though, dude. I'm telling you, he fouled out tonight in 14 minutes and looked like he should not have been out on the court. He stinks. I'm sorry.
Hey, listen, yeah, he did foul out, and if you look 2 games ago, he had a bad game. He fouled out on that one as well. Listen.
Choose any scrub throughout this show, and I'll take you on head-to-head.
TJ Leaf is, you said the same thing about Clint Capella, Coach. And what happened with
No. I didn't say that level of Clint Capella. Clint Capella is still, I think not playing the end of fourth quarters and not the value he was, but he's an excellent player. TJ Leaf just stinks.
So, I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire, but in 22 minutes, he got big rebounds. You got to understand, he is the freshest out of their bigs that played in this. Jakar Sampson soaked up 20 minutes, also got into foul trouble. He's going to have a tougher matchup. Rui's a little bit bigger than what he has to guard. You can get away with playing Sampson because they play Bridges a lot at the 4, so that matchup works out well. I don't think it's going to work. So there's my reasonings behind it. Could he easily get into foul trouble and kibosh the play instantly? Yes, absolutely. But when we're looking for value in low-owned value, and especially if Turner's out, a pivot to Goga, I think he's an obvious candidate for all those reasons. And he makes sense for me in GPPs. But I definitely wouldn't play him in a cash game. So, go forward with that. But I think all those reasons kind of open him up. I think he's going to be very, very low-owned. And if we can even get, he's a guy that can put up 10 and 10 off the bench at his price tag, and that's crushing value.
10 fouls and 10 turnovers, maybe. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one, but we will keep an eye out for some scrub to take him on here. Wait a minute. Did we what was our last challenge?
That's why I said Clint Capella. It was Capella versus McCollum, and I beat you.
Oh, damn. I knew Capella had a decent game. That's right. Yeah, CJ had an off game. So we're tied again?
Yes. Well, you can just give me the win tonight because it's going to happen. Let's just be real. It's bound to happen. Your luck's run out, Coach. I'm going 4-3 after tonight.
I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. All right. Let's move on because we have such a long slate here. We've got a 7:30 Eastern game. Bulls at Hawks, also coming off a back-to-back. Trae Young played quite a bit tonight. He was gimpy on that ankle at the end of the game. I doubt he plays tomorrow. I think it'd be stupid. But he had a monster fourth quarter. He is something to watch. And as we're recording this show, the Bulls were playing the Lakers pretty heads up. It was they were actually winning when we started the broadcast. I don't know if they're blowing it or not, but they were beating the Lakers. So this should be an interesting game. Both teams coming off a back-to-back.
They blew it, by the way, Coach.
Oh, they did. I figured. Yeah. So, so we'll see how they bounce back against the Hawks, especially if Trae Young sits. If they play him tomorrow, that would be ridiculous in my opinion. But we'll see see how that goes. If he does sit, you got to start looking at this. Might be the game you get your value play. DeAndre Bembry really stepped up last time and had a great game when Trae sat. They also lose John Collins, for the 25-game suspension, which is pretty brutal. Just destroys my year-long fantasy team. That was a big blow. But with those guys out, Bembry is in play for me. Jabari Parker's in play. Another guy that seems like tonight he was sort of the guy that filled in the most in stretches for Collins was the rookie Fernando. He played decently. Somebody to start keeping on your radar because he is active in the paint, and I think his role is going to get a little juicier here with Collins out for such a long time. But yeah, I'm expecting this to be my value game where I can maybe roster Bembry and Parker, and if they're 30-35 fantasy points apiece at cheaper price, that allows us some value in building it all everywhere else. As far as the Bulls side goes, I know Kobe White had a nice game tonight, and he can be hot and cold as you would expect with a rookie. Zach LaVine, the same way. He has a tendency to be a little points dependent, but has put up some decent numbers as it goes. And then, they're getting a lot of split between several guys in the paint they're chopping up usage and minutes and rebounding. So I'm probably going to go 0 on the Bulls and just look at the Hawks for my value plays in this one.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Both teams, like you said, on back-to-backs. We got to monitor Trae Young. I'd be surprised if he plays as well. He was on a 30 minutes cap today. And like you said, he was gimping a little bit. Another thing to keep an eye on is Otto Porter in a back-to-back. He's a guy that's always kind of being monitored. So wouldn't be surprised if he's limited or sits. He's kind of been limited, but I guess even more so. And, yeah, we're going to be looking at Bembry if Trae Young sits. I think that, Fernando, I like that you brought him up. He's going to be a guy that we're definitely going to be playing in the future because we know Alex Len struggles to stay healthy, and as soon as Alex Len gets hurt, there's going to be a clear path. But I also want to take a good look at DeAndre Hunter, I think, on this slate. Again, looking at some pivots. Jabari Parker coming into the day on Fantasy Draft. He's 12-3. That's 12,300. DeAndre Hunter is only 8,500. Hunter played 5 more minutes, took 1 less shot than him. Decent stat line himself, 16 minutes, 8 boards. No defensive stats, but he's a young dude. This is a matchup against a young team that is very turnover prone. So I can easily see him picking up a couple. So he's going to be on my radar. And, yes, Parker's the obvious play. But Parker's also a guy who struggles with injuries. It is a back-to-back. That's was one of the biggest questions once the Collins news broke is, could Parker handle a starter's role? And that's something that we have to know. He is playing in his home, not in his hometown, against his hometown team, Chicago, and he did play with them last season. I usually like to go to the narratives when they're actually in the stadium, like if they're playing in Chicago. This game's going to be played in Atlanta, so that kind of takes it away. But he does want to play against that team, play against his former teammates. So I would imagine he kind of has maybe 28 to 30 minutes. I wouldn't expect him to get anything more than that, personally.
I'm with you, man. Very good. Very good. All right, let's move on to game 4. It is a 7:30 Eastern time start. Sacramento Kings at the Toronto Raptors. And I've got a quiz question for you that I found pretty amazing. Do you know, and don't cheat and look, but do you know who is number 1 and number 2 in the NBA in minutes played this season thus far?
See, every time you give me these, Coach, we got the mascot.
We got the mascot saying hello.
I think
Chance I'm going to post a picture, by the way, of Chance, so everybody, when he barks, they get to know my Jack Russell Terrier. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think he said Kings and Raptors, but I'm not too sure.
I did.
Yeah, no, I was talking about your dog.
He did.
I think that's the answer to your quiz question.
No,
Coach,
I think what he was saying this is the dog game, the lousy game of the night.
I think there's going to be some value on one-offs in this game. That's where I kind of have it. It's either going to be a complete game stack sort of game. I think it could stay closer than some people might think. But I'd mostly be looking at one-offs. On the Raptors side of the ball, I like to target.
Well, wait a minute. I need the answer to my quiz question.
Oh, bro. I tried to answer it 3 times, but I said it's got to be Kings and Raptors. That's why I said the dogs.
No, not teams. Two players.
Oh, 2 players that led. Oh, okay, my fault. See, that's where
lead the league in minutes played.
I didn't even understand the question to begin with. To be honest,
no problem.
Two players that lead it. It's got to be from this game. Raptors, I would
correct.
probably assume Lowry or Van Vliet. has been playing a boatload of minutes. Both those guys have.
Bingo. Yeah, you can stop right there. It's both guys.
Okay, there we go.
How about crazy is that you got the backcourt for Toronto and not the youngest guys in the league, leading number 1 and number 2 in the league in minutes. I thought that was pretty intriguing.
It is, but you got to put it on a tee next time because that was like a painful for me to pull out. Like I didn't even get the question. That was my fault. I'm not saying it was your fault, but just serve it up on like a softball style for me. I guess it really couldn't have been any easier. I really just botched that.
Let's just say I hope you're not going to be on Jeopardy anytime soon.
Pretty good with the trivia questions, but you pretty much got my take. And those are the two guys I'd have the most interest in. Like I said, I'd be looking at the backcourt for the Raptors mostly. He's always an option. He's playing phenomenal. I mean, if you drafted this guy in your season-long leagues, wherever you took him, you're more than happy with his return as of right now. Do I want to target him in games with 9 slates? Nah, not usually. He's usually a guy I look at like on 4 or 5 game slates, just because we have less options and I know where his floor is compared to his ceiling. And on the Kings side, it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't really want to touch the front court going against Gasol and Ibaka. I think that's just going to be a little bit too much for me. I mean, Holmes has been producing, but his price tag's starting to get up there now where you're looking at some downside. The price tag's almost where his ceiling could be. You know, he's pretty much been getting like those 30, 35-point games. That's where we've been getting our value. But he's priced accordingly. So I'm not going to go there. I'm not touching any of the wings as far as, Bogdanovich or Barnes or Ariza. I guess I'd just really probably be looking at like Buddy Hield. De'Aaron Fox is always an option. He plays well, but I think this would be more of a Buddy Hield game for me. I struggle to get him right, so maybe that says go with the complete opposite. I just like the personal matchup of him going against Van Vliet a little bit more than I like De'Aaron Fox and Kyle Lowry.
All right. Well, good take. This is a game that is going to have a low over/under. Toronto plays great team defense, and I do like the fact that the Raptors backcourt are getting solid minutes. Sacramento definitely not the best defensive team in the league, but they're also playing really slow, which is shocking. Sacramento was in the top 5 all year last year in pace. Now they're 26th out of 30. So I don't know what Walton's doing there other than not a good job. But, I'm just going to avoid this game. With 9, that's the sweet part of a 9-game slate is, you find a game like Chance barked out. He knew what was going on. This is the dog bark game of the night for me, and I am going to fade it, buddy.
Hey, listen, I'm not knocking you. I'm not going to go overboard on targeting anybody. Like I said, I think, between Van Vliet, Buddy Hield, and Kyle Lowry, one of those, or I can even see all 3 having good games, but I could see one of those guys being in a winning lineup just because, like you said, this game being lower owned, those guys being one-offs, they're all kind of priced accordingly. Not expecting a ton of ownership to, go to any single one of them. Van Vliet is obviously priced up just because of that. He started the season really hot, and now we're kind of, we're paying for it. But we've seen him return on that price tag a few times this season already. He's got a very solid floor. So he'd probably be more of a cash game than a tournament play for me. And Kyle Lowry, I think, is viable in both. But like you said, you don't need to go there.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, this next game, this is going to be my stones out, full out game of the year so far. I am going to take a leap of faith, and I am going to the 7:30 game, Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets. Everybody is going to be on this game. Everybody is going to be stacking this game. Everybody is going to love this game. And this is my edge for tomorrow's slate. This is where I think I can take some big stuff down. And I believe that Houston blows the doors off of the Warriors here. The Warriors are playing basically with a G League team. They had a terrific win. They're feeling all good about themselves at home against Portland. This game reeks of a 35-point drubbing. And I know the Rockets had come off getting their ass kicked by the Heat, but I think the Warriors come in here, and it's one of those games where it's 40-15 or 20. And I just think the Rockets hammer them. So I am going to take this bold stance, which is going to be very unpopular. You'll find another tout in the DFS world that takes it, but I am going to have the courage to do it, and I am going to fade this game on the fact that Harden basically has to get like 85 to 90 fantasy points to pay 5x value, and Westbrook needs to get like 75 to 80. And I don't think they get it with a blowout scenario. And all of the other ancillary parts with the Rockets, everybody keeps chasing and chasing and chasing because they're the fastest paced team in the league, to me aren't worth it. I don't think Eric Gordon even plays in this game. If he does, I think he's limited. He looked terrible in the last game again. His hamstring's bothering him, and it's just going to be, I don't think having him out is going to do any harm to the Rockets at all because he's been awful. And, I know it's a massively big take, and it could, crash and burn very quickly, but you're going to see almost every lineup in the industry have either Harden or Westbrook, and you're going to have some people stack both of them. And this is going to be a gutsy fade city. It's going to either be great reward or huge, crash and burn. But that's where I'm going, man.
I mean, I see where you're coming from with it, and honestly, I don't hate it.
Really?
No, seriously, it's like I just spoke about before. A lot of the guys that we were kind of getting the value are priced up, so they're not the same value guys. When you look at Eric Pascal, he's now 12-3 on fantasy draft. The guy was close to minimum salary when we were getting these big games. Yeah. Kai Bowman's 11-4. He's another guy that we were going to pretty often. He got priced up a little bit as well. Even Glenn Robinson at 9-3. So I think some of the value is gone from these guys. I do think they're going to be good plays in other situations, but looking at Pascal, now he has a direct matchup going against PJ Tucker. That's not going to be a great matchup for him. There's the blowout risk, like you mentioned, surrounding this game. So there's a lot of things that are pointing me in the other direction. The only thing that's kind of keeping me, and this is why I like to do GPPs and play multiple lineups, is because some of the tantalizing upside that could break slates in this game. Westbrook and Harden, knowing those two guys, what they could do on any given night, could just blow up. So I would say if I'm doing a single entry, I'm going to probably take your approach, Coach, where I'm going to kind of ease off this game a little bit. There's a few other guys.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I'd like to play, Karl Anthony Towns. He's a guy I've talked about several times already. He's 18-3, so I'd almost prefer him over paying up for Harden in that matchup. We do have Westbrook coming back this game, so it's not that same scenario last time where Westbrook sat out on the back-to-back. And he was just a clear lock and load in that kind of scenario all day. But yeah, I'm kind of actually with you on this one, Coach. I think if you wanted to do like the safe one-offs, you can always look at Daniel House, especially with Eric Gordon, maybe like an Austin Rivers, who probably get a little bit of extended run off the bench as well. If you wanted to just take a shot at a low-owned, near like min salary kind of guy. But yeah, I kind of like the take, Coach. I don't want to, I'm looking at Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown's cheaper than Kai Bowman. Not going to be in this matchup. Probably even, now that we're looking at these options, if you think everyone's going to be on this Warriors Rockets game as much as they are, we're going to get some guys, kind of easing off of Goga and Bruce Brown, I think, and some of these other guys.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm thrilled that you're on board. I mean, that's fantastic. That gives me a little bit of confidence that I'm not completely crazy. I mean, the last thing I want to do is, we fade these guys and then they put up 80 and 75 fantasy points. But again, if they do, they do. I look at it that way. It's not like that's 10x like some other people can do when you're paying, highest salary on the board for these guys. I think it's a gutsy take, and I think we might be right.
Yeah, then if you get 75 and 80 from James Harden and Russell Westbrook, it happens. It's in those guys' arsenals. They're going to do that. But you're going to win less money on the nights where they put up 75 than you will win money on the nights where you avoid them and they put up 40.
Yeah, so, or even 55.
Exactly.
I mean, they go 55 and 53, and it's like you're in bad shape. if you have those two guys.
Yeah, well, these are guys that usually draw like a 40% ownership in GPPs. Some slates, like if you're looking at tonight's, we had 6 games on. Anthony Davis was like 80% owned. Look how that worked out for everybody. So there's some times where even if it seems like they're in a good spot and that the ownership's going to be there, it merits a fade. Like I said, I'm not going to completely fade these guys in every single lineup I do. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if I'm doing like a single entry and decisions have to get made, and I think I can get a big edge on a large majority of the field who is going to have him. And I kind of agree with you, Coach. I think this could be a blowout spot. And if it's not, you're going to want to game stack it at that point. So, yeah, I kind of like it, Coach. I'm with you. I think in your single entries, you kind of look the other way. But in GPPs, don't shy away from it if you're going to be playing multiple lineups.
Awesome, man. Hopefully we're on the nuts with this one. That would be really rewarding to come back and say, they were both great fades. That would be terrific. All right, awesome. A couple of things, that brings up another point that's super important. Is you really have to remember that we're recording this podcast the night before the games, and during the day of the games is when you have to follow the news. If you want to win in DFS, you have to have the latest and up-to-date information. So follow us on Twitter. We'll be posting all day. First of all, follow at Hoopball Fantasy. We've got Andy and Miles posting stuff throughout the day, keeping everything up to date there. Just click on the forums. Once you go to hoop-ball.com, click on the forums, click on the DFS thread, and you'll see that those guys are posting everything real time on there, as well as at Hoopball Fantasy on Twitter. Also, I'm at Twitter at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. He is at Mike Apotria, Mikeapotria. And our man Andrew is at Language Olympics. So follow us throughout the day. Keep up to speed on anything that's changing throughout. Also, again, we want to thank our sponsor, Fantasy Draft. They are our presenting sponsor and allow us to bring this best in industry 7-day-a-week DFS content to the table. And we want to thank them. Definitely jump on fantasydraft.com if you haven't got an account with them yet, and sign up with the promo code HoopBall and get that 7-day free trial period. Also, our additional sponsors, manscaped.com, mybookie.ag, and Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. We want to thank all of them for contributing to getting this show on every day. And our man Dan Vespers, the wizard behind the drapes, back at the home office at hoop-ball.com. Also, you can follow us on any of the podcast areas that they carry. Everybody that carries podcasts. If it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, we're on there. All you have to do is search for DFS Today, and we're going to come up, or NBA DFS Today, any combination thereof, we're going to pop up. We are growing immensely day over day. It's just crazy how much momentum we're getting, and it's just awesome. We thank the listeners that are, sending messages saying they listen every day and they appreciate the info, and we just love being able to bring that forward. So when you have a chance at the end of the podcast, when you listen, just take a couple extra seconds, hit the 5 stars, the likes, the thumbs up, give us a quick positive couple of words. All of that stuff means a tremendous amount to us, really helps us, makes the sponsors happy, and keeps the world turning, man. It keeps us going. All right, we have 4 games left on this very good 9-game slate, and let's go with game number 6, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies, which happen to be 2 teams in the top 5 in pace in the league. What do you think, Mike?
I think this is a game I'm going to be all over. I'm going to definitely, like I mentioned 100 times already, I'm going to be all over Towns, I think, tonight. Looking at like a little bit of a narrative of just coming back extra fired up after his 2-game suspension. It's a great matchup for him. I'm going to be monitoring the point guard situation because Jeff Teague is currently being considered questionable. He looked like he's a little hobbled, got hurt last game. Shabazz Napier has already been rolled out, so he may end up seeing some Jalen Nowell. His minimum salary, I think he's going to be an option if he does end up starting. I'm going to want to hear who's going to be in the starting lineup before I go and jump because the other option would be Jordan McLaughlin. So one of those guys, I think Nowell is the guy that they would probably end up going with. He'd definitely be on my radar. Just min salary, he's going to get minutes, maybe forced into 30 minutes of action, and it's a high-paced game. So at that point, sometimes stats just fall to you. And then I think that we can, continue to take shots on Robert Covington as a GPP play. His floor is, pretty safe. We've seen a couple of games where he hit that 16 mark. Those ones make us want to throw up. But in limited minutes, he's been able to do some pretty good things. So if looking at his past games, 23 minutes, 19 minutes, he put up 25, 32 fantasy points. That's great point per minute production. If this is a game where he actually has to play, let's say 30 minutes, you could be looking at a big one. Those are my guys I'm looking at on the Timberwolves. And if we want to slide over to the Grizzlies, still monitoring Valanciunas' minutes total. Right now he played 24 in his last game. I think we're creeping up there. Cat's not really known for his defense, but I just want to see a few more minutes before I start investing in the price tag. I'm not quite there yet. Jaren Jackson Jr. will play. I have no interest in him right now. Not until I could see him, securely play some minutes. It's going to be his game returning from injury. I would expect some sort of restriction. So I'm mostly going to be looking at just Ja Morant on the Grizzlies side. He's just been playing extremely well lately. Like I just mentioned, the Timberwolves could be extremely thin at point guard, and they may have to rely on 2 young players. And yes, Morant's young himself, but he was the number 2 overall pick for a reason.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you happen to see the last game where he went for the windmill dunk between like 2 guys and like a rubber band like fell and sort of turned in 2 like in opposite directions? It was crazy.
No, I didn't see that, but I did see when Morant basically put his genitals on the back of PJ Tucker's neck on a putback dunk. That was pretty serious.
I tell you what, that kid, most people would have had a major injury the way he went for that dunk and then just went down. But it's nice to be 19 years old and no body fat or anything. You're just like, you can bounce around like Gumby, but he was amazing. But he's my top play in this game, no doubt. Obviously, the backcourt of Minnesota is very hobbled. Whatever they turn out to be, and you got to keep up with the news on that. I think I know just about every player in the league, but I can't say I know who Jalen Noel is. He doesn't ring a bell to me. Now, Jordan McLaughlin, I saw play in the summer league. He ran the show quite a bit for Memphis, and he was good. I liked him, but I'm not going to trust any of these guys. I play mainly cash builds, and they're not going to make my lineup. But I say that to say that I'm going to play Ja Morant in most lineups simply because of his speed, the pace of this game, his talent level. He seems to be getting a notch of confidence even higher, and I think he just crushes in this matchup. I love him. Other than that, I'm with you. As soon as Joval hits the 30-minute mark, I'll put him in there a lot because he's tough as hell. But I don't want to play anybody on a 9-game slate that I know is going to play only 20 to 25 minutes max. I don't want anything to do with the Triple J, Brandon Clark, Bruno Caboclo mixture of minutes. Don't really trust Crowder, Slow-Mo, or Solomon Hill. Dylan Brooks, those are all guys that just aren't rosterable in my opinion. So I'm not going there. So it's Ja Morant or bust for me on the Memphis side. On the Minnesota side, I agree with you. I think Cat, he's just such a monster usage wise. And if they don't have a real true point guard, the question is that going to affect him getting the ball that much? I don't think it is because he takes a lot of threes. He gets out there on that pick and pop. He's going to have the ball in his hands. If it's a younger guard handling the ball more, they're going to, I think, have a tendency to go to Cat even more. So I would love to pay up for Cat. I can see myself building a lot of lineups, with Cat or Drummond being my stable center. If I roll out a couple GPPs, I may even try one lineup and try to squeeze in both on fantasy draft, which will create definitely some salary issues, but I think they're both in smash spots. So I'm with you. I like Cat. I really don't like anybody else on the Minnesota side. So I'm just probably going to go Ja and Cat, just one guy each, even though, this will be a high-paced, high-scoring, high-targeted game.
All right, man. Well, yeah, it looks like we're pretty much on the same page right there as far as those guys are concerned. One thing I wanted to mention. Noel he's actually naturally a shooting guard. He played at, I believe, Washington State.
Okay.
Washington or Washington State. It was one of those two. But he's very athletic. He's like a very, very tweener type guard. He almost kind of reminds me a little bit of like a DeLon Wright. He's pretty young. He's not like a small guy whatsoever. So at the end of the day, they could just do something crazy and just maybe throw like a Koji in there and just let him bring the ball up.
I'm telling you, this McLaughlin kid could play.
I've watched him. Yeah,
he's a point guard.
So at the end of the day, that's where I'm gonna have my interest, and it's just gonna be whoever's in the starting lineup. Because that's who they're gonna have the most confidence in running the point with Cat, and that's probably who's gonna be running the point with Cat in the fourth quarter as well. So that's kind of where I'm gonna be going. It's just whoever's in that starting lineup, and I'm not saying like you need to go there either. It's just gonna be a value option. At the end of the day, we don't have too many guys that are next to both of these guys that we're talking about are minimum salary guys. I don't think there's any other minimum salary guy that we mentioned on the slate yet that we were actually interested in. So it's a way to kind of get a couple more expensive guys in there if you want.
I'll tell you what, if Teague is named out and McLaughlin is named the starting point guard, I'm plugging them in. I mean, there's a way. There's your route to get a lineup with both Drummond and Cat in there, and I would think his floor will be decent. Running the point in an up-paced game like that. So
I would imagine like 20 points.
Watch the news. Yeah, 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, if he's starting and running the point, I would suspect that to be like his floor, like that 18-20 mark. I would say.
I would think more like 25 to 27 and a half. I really do.
That's what I would take. That's what I'd be happy with at the end of the day. I'd be extremely happy with it. But when I play a guy, I anticipate like the floor to be like, okay, if he puts up 18-20 at his price tag, I can still stomach that and cash out in my lineups. I'll be fine with that. So I go in there with that kind of mindset, and unless I feel comfortable about that guy, like I'd still feel comfortable about even if I got 18-20. I think the high side would probably be like what you just mentioned, like that 27 to like 30 range.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. All right, let's roll to Game 7. It's the Orlando Magic at the Dallas Mavericks. Definitely intriguing. Little worried in the fact that Orlando's the second to last pace team in the league. Dallas has picked up the pace a little bit, but slipped down to 20th. We were up in like 12, 13. So we're slowing it down a little bit. That definitely brings some concern. What do you think about this game?
You know what, Coach? I'm really not that into it too much. I mean, obviously the Maverick options like Doncic, but Doncic's getting up there in price. I know he can go buck wild any game, but this is a tough matchup. Not one that I generally like to target. And Orlando's on the second half of back-to-back. So, like you said, a slow-paced team who's also going to be, just playing big minutes the night before. A lot of things that are kind of just telling me to, not steer clear, but just temper my expectations as far as what their output could look like. I was on Aaron Gordon tonight. I'm expecting him to kind of turn it around a little bit this season. He's kind of getting off to a rough start shooting the ball. But otherwise, I'm good, man. I don't think this is the spot really to go after Markelle Fultz unless we hear something about the minutes being increased. For me, it would just be random shots at Doncic in a couple of my lineups, but otherwise, I'm good.
Well, looking at Orlando's box against Oklahoma City tonight, He definitely was preparing for the back-to-back because he played 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 guys 20-plus minutes. So, Vuk played 33. Everybody else was under that. So, they'll probably stay with their normal rotation, I would think, against Dallas. Not that means a ton, but, we'll see coming in. Yeah, I mean, Doncic is to the point where he is getting up there in the upper echelon of pricing with some of the biggest dogs, but he certainly has been paying it off, man. He's been incredible, but I just don't see rostering any Luka or KP in such a pace down game, and it just doesn't excite me. I don't think this will be a high scoring affair. I don't like the ancillary pieces for Dallas ever because they all rotate so incredibly much. On the Orlando side, they've been so underwhelming DFS-wise this year. Not only the second lowest pace, but very seldom do they smash value at all. I mean, they've been very, very bland. Tonight's a perfect example. Listen to how crazy this is. Aaron Gordon had 15, and then Isaac, Fultz, Aminu, and Augustine all had 13. And Vuk had 10. That's not going to win cash or GPPs. They're spreading the wealth around a little bit there, but not DFS playable. So I'm fading, man.
I'm with you, Coach. It's and I think we're ready to move on to the next one. And when we get to this next one, Coach, I think I'm gonna pretty much have almost a similar approach.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I really don't.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then. We have 2 games left. A game at the Utah Jazz against the Philadelphia 76ers. A little Embiid against Gobert in the center spot. Should be an interesting game. As we all know, Utah's Utah. They're 28th in the league in pace. They just, beat people down and find ways to win games the old-fashioned way. They're 4-3. They're just scrapping and scratching. Philly comes in off their first loss to Phoenix. They're 5-1, but they do get Joel back. He's very well rested, and certainly think that Joel's in that trifecta discussion of Drummond, Cat, and himself because those 3 are smashable guys. The only thing against Joel is he's going against the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and it's in Utah, and it's a pace-down game. So, can you target some guys in this game? Possibly. I mean, Philly is up to 6th in pace, so it's a monster pace-up game for Utah. I've got to think Jay Rich is probably going to check Donovan Mitchell, and I respect his defense flat out. He has, does a great job. I mean, there's a couple flyers here you could take, like Bogdanovich. He seems to be getting it going lately. He may be a guy that gets it done. Jamal Murray's still in a slump. He hasn't really broken out of it yet. And from Philly's side,
You mean Conley?
Or what I say?
You said Jamal Murray. I was like, has there been a trade I didn't know about?
No. I meant Mike Conley. He still hasn't quite got it going yet. Yes, he's getting a little bit better, but not not quite to the spot where, to me, that I want to take a shot at rostering him. But he's getting there, and we all knew he would because he's a pro. But the Philly side, you've got just a usage valve leak for Tobias and certainly Al Horford and even Simmons with Joel back. It just, it's automatically, he's the top usage guy on the team, and those guys are going to use some of that, lose some of that. And Al Horford, he has proven every time Joel's out, he is the man to take. He's one of those, put a star next to when Joel sits out, just plug Al Horford in because he's going to play 4 or 5 and dominate the glass. But I don't really want anything to do with him with Joel back, to be honest. It's that much of a switch for me. And, Tobias is good, but his price is sort of high. And again, I think his usage is going to go down. Simmons had a terrible game the last game against Phoenix. So I've got a sour taste in my mouth for him because I've had him in my lineup. I'm not thrilled with the way he played. And, Conley's a first-class defender. So, I don't know. I mean, Embiid's certainly an option, but I just don't know if I'll have the courage. Although fresh, he's tempting. He's going to definitely be less owned than Cat or Drummond. And so he might be just a natural, great pivot from those two guys that could just break the slate. He really could. I think I may fire up Bojan Bogdanovic in a GPP, but not my cash game. And that's it.
All right. Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with Joel Embiid being a good pivot. At the end of the day, he's not going to be my favorite center around that price tier, like you said, for all those reasons. But he still is the type of player that can go out there and put up a 30-20. So I definitely think that he makes for a pivot. A nice little hedge or something if you want to do it that way. But otherwise, I'm really not too interested in anybody from the Sixers. I think the one guy that I would, you mentioned him being a little overpriced. I think he's priced fairly, actually, Coach. When you talk about Tobias Harris, yeah, on Fantasy Draft he's 12-1. Just looking at some of the other guys in his price range, Andrew Wiggins, Jonah Valanciunas, Montrezl Harrell, Rashawn Holmes. Look, going on the other side, we're talking about Parker, Pascal, Kennard, like some guys that we're expecting to have some ownership.
Good point. That's a good point.
I think that might be a nice solid pivot to a few of those guys. And even when he's in the Joel Embiid's in the lineup, he's the secondary scorer for this team. He's their best 3-point shooter. He's a valuable asset. I think he's going to have a plus matchup when you're talking about playing small forward. So I think I do have a little bit of interest in him.
Yeah. No, I think that's a sensible play. And I was thinking his price was like $1,000 higher than that. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. And he might be a smart value play. And he never seems to be super owned, even though his value's pretty decent there then.
Yeah, I think some of the other sites in the industry might keep Horford and Tobias priced up a little bit, but Fantasy Draft, they adjusted pretty quickly. So that it wasn't like these guys were coming off injury and they might be questionable or game time. They were suspended, so everybody knew that they were going to play this game. So hopefully most of the sites got to account. So far, I've only checked out Fantasy Draft pricing, so I do not know that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right, we'll keep an eye on that. That's definitely a great option or a great pivot. All right, let's finish up this awesome 9-game slate with a really great game. Some people are picking this as the NBA Finals, actually, and it's the 10 p.m. Late game, the late night hammer, the sweat game, everything else. The Milwaukee Bucks at the LA Clippers get to see a little bit of top-notch players here with Giannis going after it. Now, I read something today saying that there is a possibility that this is a rest game.
Yeah, Leonard's already been ruled out.
He is out.
Yeah, Leonard's already been ruled out, and
that's a shame.
It takes a lot of the steam out of this game, just because this was a game I'd actually, when we were talking about Harden before, I would have probably preferred Giannis, just because I would expect lower ownership with Giannis compared to Harden. And I like this matchup for him a lot, even though it's against Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, fantastic. But this is a game where Giannis would have to play big minutes. Defensive, matchup aside, you'd probably be looking at 36 minutes in this game, and we know what can happen when Giannis gets 36 just from, ancillary stats and defensive stats. So that's going to take a little steam out of the game for me, Coach. I don't know about you. I'm not, when it comes to playing the other Bucks, I really don't target too many of them. Like I said, Bledsoe's the one guy I keep my eye on. He's been playing out of his mind, and he's been doing it in limited minutes. It's almost like Jonas Valanciunas thing where I just want to see the minutes before I want to pay for him. But we're talking about 3 straight games where his lowest score has been 33 and a half fantasy points, his highest being 43. And he's played 23, 24, and 27 minutes. So
that's impressive.
It's kind of, it's one of the things that we talked about in the preseason. His usage, everything, ball handling responsibilities goes up when Brogdon was off the floor.
And now we're talking about full season without Brogdon. So I'm actually expecting a pretty big role from Bledsoe. Just want to see the minutes. And, going over to the Clippers side, I'm not going to, mess around and play Mo Harkless just because Kawhi Leonard's sitting. I think we have enough value on the slate where we don't really need to go there. And then, at the end of the day, I just don't know if they're going to have the firepower to kind of keep up with this Bucks team. I mean, if they do, if you're playing like a Giannis, maybe, could run it back with Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams stack. One of those kinds of things, just because those two guys are going to have a major impact if this game does stay close. Otherwise, I'm good. I mean, the later half of this slate, man, it's a lot of tough defense and not a lot of value to go with in those games.
I actually like some pieces here, believe it or not, Mike. I think that the Clippers are scrappy. It's a home game. It's an east to west coast trip for Milwaukee. I think that the Clippers stay in this tight enough to give them a game. And I have made a mental note of this, and I may have even mentioned it on one of the shows. But when I've stated all along, when Kawhi sits prior to Paul George coming back, that you really have a great two-man stack in Williams and Harrell, because they're going to get like 65% usage between the two of them with those other guys out. Because Beverly's not going to be a scorer. He never was. Shamet's going to, fire a couple threes, but that's it. Harkless, Magruder, Patrick Patterson, JaMychal Green, Zubac. That's the rest of the group. There's no hardly double-digit scores in that group. So, if this is going to stay some semblance of a game, which I think it will, I think that Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell go off. And if Brook Lopez is in there defensively, I think he's been awful. I think he's not playing well defensively. He was reasonable last year. He was a top 15 defensive center and blocked some shots, but I don't see it. I see some regression there. I don't know if it's age or what the deal is, but I think Harrell's a strong play there if they're going to stay in the game, and Williams is going to be running and gunning like crazy. On the other side of the ball, I'm not going to be able to afford Giannis. Yeah, I'd love to be able to say, yeah, take Giannis, but you can't take all the high salary guys. I like that combination of guys, Bledsoe and Middleton. And I know Bledsoe gets Beverly defense, blah, 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 and that scares everybody off. But Bledsoe's playing terrific ball, like you said. He really is. He seems to be finally healthy now. And Middleton has been stepping up too. He's looked solid lately. So, I like some combination of those four guys, Bledsoe, Middleton, and Williams, Harrell, in my builds. Not all four of them, but, mixing and matching like two of those guys in some of the builds, I think would make for a really nice late night sweat.
Yeah, I agree. I think that at the end of the day, like if we do game scripting and you are playing a guy like Giannis or Bledsoe, and the starters just get off to a hot run, and this game does stay close, I imagine that the Bucks starting unit is going to outscore the Clippers starting unit like by a wide margin, where the bench unit's going to have to keep them involved in this game. So it just kind of correlates well when you look at pairing one of those big starters with those two bench unit guys.
That's my thinking exactly. I think that it just seems to play out right, and if it goes the way we're thinking, then that's very possible. All right, I think we're wrapping up. Let's do a quick coach's challenge check-in here before we check out. Let me see here. Maybe I am sitting right dead square in the middle. Let's see. Do I have any chance to move up? Not doing that great in the old coach's challenge, man. I am sitting, right square in the middle. What is your name on here?
It's just
Patria, yeah. You are right now beating me by 12.
Yeah, it looks like all I have left is Butler with about 5 minutes left in the game.
And I have Gary Harris and Bam Adebayo, so I still could get you, but it looks like I may get beat.
Yeah, looks like you got beat again, Coach.
Yeah.
It's what happens. No worries. I'm just more excited about this free pizza. Where's Josh down there at 33? We actually almost had identical lineups. We just had a 2v2. So we both had Butler, Kemba, Contavious, Davis, Goga, and Jabari. The only difference was I went Tristan Thompson, he went Kevin Love, and then I went Zach LaVine to his Marcus Smart. So I won the 2v2 right there.
Very nice, man. We don't know what language Olympic man Andrew is, do we? Doggone it! I wondered how.
I think he keeps it. He changes it every week. He just says whatever's in first or second.
Exactly, I think so. Whoever the B-ball podcaster is, could that be him? Whoever that is in 40th. That's not good. Looks like the winner is going to be the Chicago City Bulls. Shout out to the Chicago City Bulls with a big 319.75, and they still have Butler and Millsap in there.
Only person in the tournament to play Hayward.
That was it. 2% owned Gordon Hayward breaks the slate, and he also paired him with Devontae Graham with a little 56-point fantasy point effort there. So what a nice build. Walker, Butler, Shea, Hayward, LaMarcus, Jonathan Isaac, Devontae Graham, Paul Millsap. Nobody let him down. Everybody 20+. Solid game from the Chicago City Bulls. All right, man. Well, that is it. We'll definitely be tweeting some stuff out tomorrow regarding the next Coach's Challenge. And actually, the next 2 nights is you and Andrew. So I've got a couple of nights reprieve here, it looks like.
Yeah, and then I get to vent my frustrations with Andrew about working with this old guy on the other days and all that good stuff. So we didn't get our chicken soup going.
Oh yeah, I need somebody to go against. I'm even ashamed to say it, TJ Leaf.
Yeah, just go ahead. If you hate it, just pick somebody random on there.
I think I could outplay TJ Leaf on my own. Let me see. Good Lord. Who do you even go to in a scenario that I don't want to insult you with anybody that can actually play the game? Oh, wow. I can pick somebody like really bad just to be kind.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
How about like Dwight Powell?
Sure, why not? Listen, I don't knock that Dwight Powell play, but I'll take it. He's getting increased minutes.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
He's not done a damn thing yet, but
all right, we'll do TJ Leaf versus Dwight Powell.
This might be our worst.
These are the fun ones.
Challenge
These are the fun.
Yet.
Who cares about when it's Embiid versus Cat? Everybody, those guys are both good. Give it a couple dumpster dive guys who.
We should have taken guys in the same game again, so there's a potential of a throwdown. That would be great if we had another fist fight amongst our chicken soup guys.
I'll wait till James Johnson's back into conditioning before we do that, and I'll pick the prime fighter.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. Well, all right, man. Great show, great stuff. Hopefully this helps. There's certainly some big takes here. When you can tell Dan, if we're going to put ourselves out there, we might as well do it. So he can put up there. These 2 crazy ass touts are completely fading the Houston Rockets and Harden and Westbrook. That'll get some attention.
Yeah, we're doing our clickbait, you can call it, I guess. No, but for real, I think it's definitely a warranted option.
Well, if we're on, we're going to be right in the thick of things with some of our other plays for sure. But all right, man, great stuff. Anything else?
That's it, man. I'm ready to go.
All right, dude. Well, we thank all the listeners. Again, thank you for the growth of the show and all the great comments. Please keep hitting us up. And we do this, from the bottom of our hearts. We give it our all, and we give you all our opinions as raw as they are because, we want you to win. We want some good stories. We want you to post some great results. So, all right. Thank you for joining us on Hoopball NBA DFS today. For my man Mike Apotria and for Andrew Hansen, I am Coach. We'll catch you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.